Hi everyone, this presentation aims to showcase our RPA solution to a business problem by Reno Team Singapore. We are from Seminar Group 1, I'm Cheng Shu Yu Mavis, and I'll be starting the presentation. This is an agenda of our presentation. Firstly, we'll introduce the software used in designing the solution, which is the UiPath, following which we'll explain about the business problems faced by Reno team. We'll then elaborate about our solution, which is an automation sequence to automate the manual business process. We will look into the business application of this solution, and we'll end off with our conclusion. Introduction. UiPath is a software platform for robotic process automation. RPA refers to the development and replication of an action by watching how the user performs the task and then repeating the task. For businesses, this presents a huge potential to scale their businesses and streamline margins. UiPath brings about two main benefits. For productivity improvement, UiPath provides 300 existing activities that are identical to daily activities used in businesses. The improvement of the firm's back and middle end efficiency can translate to improved efficiencies in the firm's front line, thereby allowing the company to focus on the customers. UiPath enables management to deploy bots to perform business processes automatically. So this enables the management to have good management capabilities since they have a macro overview of the process, and UiPath can be programmed to provide a quick analysis of business areas as well, identifying areas for improvement and efficiency. Moving on to business problems. Renal team engages in dialysis treatment for patients suffering from renal diseases. Renal team provides a variety of services. The company is established in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. These are the roles of the finance team. So in the finance team, there are two accounts executives. Their work mainly centers around accounts receivable, accounts payable, and the general ledger. They are involved in daily operation accounting, as well as the preparation and checking of various reports. Also, the finance team has a accounts executive. This accounts executive mainly does work on accounts payables. So with automation, it can help renal team to better reallocate their resources to perform other higher value processing jobs. This is the workflow for the day-end and month-end sales revenue. Basically, the administrative assistant or the nurse manager creates a visit record for patients that visits, and after dialysis, the patient pays, invoice is generated, and various reports will be actually generated throughout the workflow, and the accounts department are mainly in charge of the payment.
Thank you, Mavis. I will be discussing the use case for renal team next. Every month, a sales summary report must be generated by the administrative assistants. They spend at least 10 minutes every day to manually copy and paste the data from the receipt listings and the revenue detailed report to the sales summary report. The sales summary report is also used to identify the patient's eligibility for the claims from their funding organizations, and then renal team will then liaise directly with the funding organizations. Some patients will be entitled to partial claims or full claims. Hence, the opportunity for automation thus lies in the transferring of the data from the receipts listing and the revenue detailed report every month to the sales summary. These are the data sets provided by renal team. 1. The receipts listing, which contains the payment and advance collection received from patients. 2. The revenue detailed report containing the billings to customers for the treatment services rendered. Thirdly, the FO or funding organization invoice listing, which is the funding for patients from the funding organization. Fourthly, the sales summary report, which is actually the summary of invoice billings and payments received from customers. Next, I'll be introducing our solution mainly on the data preparation part. For data preparation, for the revenue detailed report, we added 5 additional rows for the services without transactions for the month, and for receipts listing, we created the data table and added 12 payment methods into the transaction records to ensure that the pivot table generated reflects all the payment modes in the column headers. Next, for the empties template for the sales summary, we arranged the treatment methods and the payment types according to alphabetical order. Next, we filtered the invoices that are generated in September to extract the specific invoices which were billed in September, and then we copy and pasted the document date and the document number from the revenue detailed report as well as the receipts listing provided by renal team. Next, we filtered the receipts listing for the invoices that are generated before September, and this captures all the payments which actually pays for the treatments which were rendered in the previous months. And then we copy and pasted the filtered list of the RC numbers from file 3 to file 1. Lastly, we copy and pasted the current credit notes and the previous credit notes from the sample sales summary report provided by the renal team to file 4. Next, I'll be passing my time to Fion, who will be introducing more on our solution.
Thank you, Wei Bin. So for the UiPath automation, the files required are File 1, a list of distinct documents including the invoice number, receipt numbers, credit note for current month transaction and previous month transactions, as well as a list of distinct patients for the month. Next, File 2, the revenue detailed report, File 3, receipt listing, File 4, sales summary report blank template, and File 5, the FO listing. So the first step of the automation is to fill in the document number and document date in the sales summary report worksheet, as well as to fill in the distinct patient ID and patient name under the sales summary by patient for the month in the same worksheet. So in this step, we copy all the worksheets from file 1 to file 4. Then within file 4, we copy the respective data from each worksheet into the sales summary report using the copy-paste range function. Next, in step 2, we fill in the patient ID and patient name in the sales summary report. To do this, we copy the worksheets from file 2, file 3, and file 5 into file 4. Then, we fill in the patient ID and name in column C and D respectively using the read range and write cell function to insert VLOOKUP formulas. Next, in step 3, we create a pivot table for RIMS revenue detailed to filter out the billing details. Step 4, we fill in the billing details for the current month invoices, which are those document numbers that starts with INV. So from pivot table 1, we will filter out the invoice number, then in a loop, using for each row function, the billing details for each procedure group will be copied into the sales summary report for the corresponding document number. The total revenue and GST figures are then generated by Excel formulas in the template. There are two things to note for this step. Firstly, we need to change the range of cells read every month depending on the number of invoices for that month. Also, untick name in the selector editor for the selection of cell at a specific row and column on the screen instead of the specific cell after filtering the table. For instance, if you want to select the specific position at 5th row 2nd column instead of selecting the exact cell B14, you will need to untick the name B14 in the selector editor. So now I'll pass the time on to Jia Qi, who will continue to explain the remaining steps.
Thank you, Fion. Next, for step 5, we'll create a pivot table for RIMS receipt listing to filter out collection details for current month transactions. These are document numbers that starts with INV. So to do so, the columns will be set as payment mode, rows as document numbers, and values as sum of payment amount. Next, we will fill in the collection details for current month invoices. So in a loop, using the for each row function, the collection details for each payment mode will be copied into the sales summary report for the corresponding IN numbers. Note that the things to note in step 4 applies for step 6 as well. Next, for step 7, we will create a pivot table for RIMS receipt listing to filter out collection details for collection advances and payment for previous outstanding payment transactions. So these are document numbers that starts with RC. So the difference between pivot table 3 and pivot table 2 is that the rows is now RC numbers instead of document numbers. Then we will fill in the collection details for collection advances and payment for previous outstanding payment transactions. So similarly in a loop, we will use the for each row function, and the collection details for the payment mode will be copied for the corresponding RC numbers. Similarly, the things to note in step 4 applies for step 8. Next, for step 9a, we will create pivot table 4 to filter the collection advance transactions. So for this pivot table, we will have an additional filter for invoice date. Then we will fill in the collection advance amount and payment for previous outstanding amount. So the invoice date will be filtered to be blank, and the collection advance amount will be input into column AA using the right cell function. So we will relook up to the pivot table 4. Then we will input the payment for previous outstanding amount into column AB using the right cell function, and we will use the Excel formula of negative sum. Next, for step 10, we will fill in the funding organization claimable amount into the sales summary report. So for each row function, the funding amount will be copied into the sales summary report for the corresponding patient ID number from FO invoice listing. Last but not least, for step 11 and 12, we will fill in the billing details of credit notes for current month and previous month transactions. These are document numbers that starts with CN. We will input the billing details for each procedure group from pivot table 1 into the sales summary report for the corresponding document number by using the read range and write cell function, inserting the VLOOKUP formula. So at the end of this step, the completed sales summary report will be generated and saved in the desktop. So now, Sean will share the business application of this UiPath solution.
Thanks, Jia Qi. Moving on, I'll be covering the costs and time savings to Renal Team as part of the business application. So as you can see from the table, Renal Team has 9 centers in Singapore in total. So for each of the centers, the administrative assistant spent 10 minutes to aggregate the sales summary, and the total time spent per year is shown in this table. So in total, the assistant spent 25,740 minutes per year on the manual creation of the sales summary. Since Renal Team's assistants earn $10.50 per hour, the total cost savings to Renal Team from automation of the sales summary is $4,505. Next, I'll be going over some restrictions we face. So we first had to preset a range of data which the UiPath sequence reads every time. So in order to do this required us to determine the exact rows to be used, as the amount of data varies every month. And one way to overcome this restriction would be the use of coding programs. Next, we require specific window resolutions, such as the screen size of the specified Excel sheet during each run of the RPA sequence. This was necessary for UiPath to capture the exact same position to run the sequence on the same device. And finally, the UiPath program is somewhat rigid. For instance, the naming convention of the individual Excel sheets has to be standardized. It is time-consuming to change the naming conventions once the sequence has undergone testing. So moving on to feasibility, now we identified 2 key performance metrics in the use to test the effectiveness of our solution. So these 2 performance metrics were the percentage of accuracy and the percentage of time savings. Now we tested our automated solution on a blank sales summary report and compared this to Renal Team's sales summary report to observe the output. We achieved a desirable 99.8% accuracy rate, and the difference was due to a discrepancy as the same receipt was issued to collection advance and invoice number. So to overcome this, we could issue different receipts with unique document numbers for collections in advance and current month billings. We concluded also that our solution achieved 10 minutes of time savings every day and enabled the administrative assistants to perform other tasks. So in terms of future business applications, our automation can be used to be applied to other accounting and business functions within Renal Team's operations. The migration of data from the RIMS to the SAP accounting system is one noteworthy application. Renal Team is also considering using UiPath for data scraping of patients' report results to RIMS. So after we had finished presenting our solution, Renal Team CEO indicated that the output was desirable and could be scaled, but there were certain restrictions that we could not automate. So first off, Renal Team wanted serial numbers to be arranged in running order and blank invoices to be moved to the last row. Next, Renal Team wanted a dual filter for sales by patients and now treatment values to be removed. And we acknowledge that this process had to be done manually for now. So overall, RPA presents an integrated solution for businesses to improve their margins and automate their processes with the simple push of a button. We expect Renal Team to further scale this technology and achieve the synergies that technology can bring to their medical business. And going forward, we are confident that RPA will provide huge upside for businesses who are not afraid to change the way they operate. Thank you very much.